All right, Simmon here once again for a tournament match from the 2020 USTA Tech Tournament. This is from BenWo and Orfane. Ben is actually the founder of the USTA, but don't be alarmed. He is not running this tournament. Someone else is. So Ben is competing, Orfane is competing. Ben is the white, Orfane is in the black. We've got a standard opening, adjacent corners for the first moves, and then attacking those center squares. Now, interestingly, we see white going diagonally here instead of building solidly, having black catch up. We see the early capstone from white coming in, and then black building around. Not ready to throw out that capstone yet, even though I really do like a capstone here on d3 and now on e4. Capstone looks good there for black. Oh, black doing a smart play here, separating his flat away from the capstone, isolating that white capstone, keeping it out of the gameplay. If he's smart, probably a d3, at least in my opinion. He could be smarter than me, and I just don't know. But d3 capstone would be great. It would protect this prisoner that he's got here and keep building that vertical threat. And maintain this capstone away from the rest of the gameplay. And keep this flat from capturing. So he went for a soft protection there. Instead of going for the capstone, he's probably thinking flat or cap, flat or cap, flat or cap. The early capstone is pretty trendy at the moment. It's a popular move. We'll see what he does here. He's building around sideways, so we get to see an equal vertical and horizontal threat here. I'm not sure if I like that. I feel like he should have gone here in d2 and just continued that vertical threat since it was already established. Okay, going horizontal again. I really feel like that capstone at d3 would have been so strong, but we'll see what he does here. Because now, if he plays here at c6, we'll see white probably play b6, and that'll just be moving his own vertical threat there and cutting off the horizontal threat of black. So his only real decision here is probably placing at b6 or capstone here at c2. Okay, so he's got the c6 placement for the flat stone, so he's got a horizontal threat here. If b6 isn't blocked or there's no capture, it will be the game, but Ben will most likely see that. I'm going to say there's a 99% chance he has seen this and is deciding which move he wants to make in order to block this threat. Capturing this would free up prisoners for him, but it would leave his capstone a little bit more isolated than it was before. Placing here is also fine, but then he's going to have to figure out what to do, what capture to make after black plays here or here at E2 or F2. They have been playing pretty quickly so far. They're both above the initial 10-minute time limit due to the 15-second increment. Okay, so he went for the capture from D2 to D3. It's a solid move. There's no immediate recovery for that without separating that out. Ooh, but I like this. I like this for black, actually, because this trade works out nicely. So if white recaptures here, black could give that up. Ooh, white throwing up the... Yep, there we go. There's the capstone in response to that wall. He really wants to keep this viable. And I think we're going to see here probably a capture up above. Or we might even see the wall come over right away. just to to force him to capture that. But if the wall does come over and he does capture, there's going to need to be another block because that would be a tack threat vertically coming down since this has 2 black pieces in it. It would be a stack of 3, including the capstone if the wall were to come over. Black is in a pretty solid position right now. Now, while white does have a first player advantage in tack, it's not huge, but it is significant enough that we do play 2 games per match in order to make it fair. Now, white has allowed himself to fall behind on momentum and be playing a reactionary game. So that had been a little bit of a blunder on Ben's part. He has not been as active in the tack scene lately, at least in playing. So we'll see if that affects him in the long run here. Or maybe he's still got some options, but we'll see what he does with them. He's taking his time on this move. Okay. We see the wall come over. Now, capstone smash like we expected. Now that is the tack threat stopped by the wall. Now we see another tack threat. Placing there gives the horizontal threat. Now that's been blocked by that wall. Now we could see the capstone stack being thrown up and then dedicating all that to the horizontal threat on this way. Not sure how well that would work out in the long run. There's some potential there. This is the killer for that horizontal threat, though. Could jump in there and just really cut it off right at the head. One of the solutions, I think, would be to black could then play something around here, maybe c2, and then start going for that vertical threat this way via capture. c2 would be a good way to do that, be moving in the right direction, and it would be cutting white off from going that direction also, since this is a very highly contested area right now. Okay, so he's going that way because now that he's got that there, he can throw this stack over, drop 1 here and 2 there, and he's got attack threat there and attack threat there. So it would have to be a capture on this piece or on this piece in order to stop that if white doesn't do something about it right now, because he's setting himself up for a 2-pronged threat. 2-pronged because it would be a road this way and a road this way, depending on which move he takes on the next one. Get a little different angle here. Okay, so I think we're going to see this capstone come up and this stack move, dropping 1 and then 3, 4, dropping 1 and then 4. In tack notation, that would be, let's see, 5d3 plus 1, 4. Yeah, exactly what I was going to say. So here we'll see tack covering this piece and spreading out to here. Oh, and he didn't see it, and black will take the win here. White missed the threat on this piece. Now, Orfane probably knows that. He may be offering... Nope, he's not offering an undo. There we go. That is the win for game 1 of BenWo versus Orfane. BenWo losing as white, Orfane picking up the win as black. Now, in the second game of this match, we will be seeing BenWo playing as black and Orfane playing as white. We could definitely see a tie here, or Orfane could come away with a 2-0 victory. It's hard to say. BenWo missing the tack threat was a pretty big Pretty big factor there. So we will pause recording and come back when they start the next one. All right, and Orfane versus BenWo has continued. BenWo is black, Orfane as white. Let's see what we do here. We'll probably see a similar start. Again, Ben being very, very sportsmanlike. Good tack community. Everyone's always friendly, mostly friendly. All right, so we get one placed in the corner as expected. We'll see if we get adjacent or opposite corners this time. Adjacent corners again. And probably attacking those center squares, as is popular right now. Yep, each one mirroring each other. That mirrored start has been going for a while. Okay, white going straight ahead with the advantage and pushing that. Yep, that's what we expect to see. I'm going to... Ooh, interestingly, he played at E2 and not a capstone here at C5. That's what I was expecting. It's typically a good decision to place a capstone where it has two opportunities to capture an enemy piece. So these diagonal spots right here are very good. But as we see right now, we've got a horizontal threat growing, being sort of taken on by this piece here. This vertical threat is building, but it's mainly there for defense from BenWo. Orfane's doing a good job keeping that momentum, keeping Ben on the reaction side of things, and there we see the capstone come out. It does have only one opportunity to capture, so it would be easy to isolate that capstone. However, I don't think we're going to see that happening since we've got it being part of this road threat here, loosely part. So this should be good. That's a good move from Orfane, I think. We get solid connections, a possibility here for capturing, for flattening a wall, something that would kind of throw a wrench in those plans potentially could be a capstone here, but I don't think that would be such a great idea. Okay, just continuing on. That makes a lot of sense. We'll see white flat up here from Orfane because he wants to continue that road threat horizontally. And if he can get a flat here instead of black's flat, that would be good for him. Okay, he's going down, which is interesting because white can now flat at b4 and then come up or come over to connect that side of the road and then leave it be a diagonal. But black is also building more in their own direction, working towards that threat. So when that capture does occur, they'll be able to come in, maybe fill in with a capstone. Oh, and the capstone goes in. That'll block off any anchor point to this right here. So we're probably going to see white shift gears here and go for a vertical threat. So first, we're seeing this horizontal bar. So black has to do something to cut that off, and he does by moving that capstone down, which is why he placed it there. So he could capture in both directions, here or here. And when this option got away, he went for that one. All right, so now here's the good question, because if he starts building maybe C1, you'll see that vertical threat open up, but black would be able to capture over with his capstone, potentially after going here, so he'd have a friendly prisoner that he'd be liberating. Instead, he's just going to go keep building for this horizontal threat, force reactionary moves from black, which is a good play. It keeps that momentum that white naturally gets with the first player advantage. Now that was a good move because it's baiting. It baits the capture here or the capture here, which would allow the capstone to come over and collect that extra flat, make that capstone stack more powerful, give it more ability to move, give it a lot more options in how to affect the game. We see here it continues, white continues that threat. didn't go for the bait, placed a piece. Placing pieces is imperative. It is the most powerful move in most situations. Capturing tends to not be as advantageous as placing pieces, at least according to the strategy guide by No Hat Coder several years ago. It's still the most popular one, at least for me. Alright, so we see another placed piece here at E2, which continues that horizontal threat. Orfane is just throwing them down, one after another, keeping the pressure on, finally forcing the wall out. Now you'll see the flat stone count is in favor of white here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So it's not a huge lead, especially because white does have that first player advantage, but it does exist. And so white can push that advantage, keep pushing in the right direction to sort of force this to go in his favor. Right now, black doesn't have too many strong options in terms of where to go to build a road. Um, Going horizontally isn't going to be a great decision because that's going to be on the 2 file and the 1 file, and those are already blocked by white's pieces. Going north and south, also not a great option for black. We'll see a number of moves, probably forcing some capture recaptures around here. But that move here, as said in the chat, that was a little unnecessary. It opens things up, and we'll see. We saw that black went over and recaptured, but this now hard cap that white has is a pretty strong position. He won't be able to cause a tack threat right now because he would have to leave behind um, a blank spot here. But he would leave white there and then capture, or smash rather. But I'm not sure that he wants to do that just yet. He wants to keep that in his back pocket uh, as another option. He won't be able to do that tack threat just yet. And if he does, black would be able to come over and recapture that now double stack of whites and get more prisoners. We're seeing Ben take his time thinking about what he should do in response to this move. I'm thinking about it too. I'm not quite sure what I would do in this situation. I like to think that I wouldn't be in this situation, but I'm realistic and I would definitely be in this situation. Uh, Probably moving the capstone up to D3. Um, that would start be on the right path to building a vertical road. It would also stop the threat. I feel like that's the best move for the immediate future. So if I were the intuition bot, for example, just looking one move ahead, that's probably the move that I would take. But instead he places it A5. Also a good play, not one that I thought of initially, but what that's doing is that's building again a vertical threat and allowing the option to cut off the anchor point to that left half of the board at A4. That's good. I like that. That was a good move. I'm not sure what... That's probably a more long-term play than moving the capstone up to D3. But yeah, I like that. I like that move. See how white responds here. He could do a number of things. We could see him start building down at C1, like I said, or at D1. I feel like C1 would probably be the best choice initially, because that could build towards a horizontal threat and a vertical threat at the same time. The capstone is officially blocked. It can't move over here, otherwise it gives the win away. The only place it can move is up. But if it does move up, white can place here. Ooh, that is not a move that yeah, I'm not quite sure that's advisable. I'm not sure what the point of that one was. We do see here that he captured a piece. See how that, yeah, captured the piece. But now this piece can be won in the capture wars by black, because if white comes over, or if black comes over and captures, and if white wants to recapture, which they do, because otherwise they'll probably come over here. Yeah, I don't see that working out in the long run. I mean, sure, it's an initial attack threat, but that's going to be seen and stopped. Orfane might be counting on the fact that Ben missed the previous attack threat that he had in the last game, and so that he may miss this one here, because if he throws the capstone over onto D3 and then crushes E3, that's the win. Okay, so Ben did not miss this attack threat. He came over and cut it off at the source. But now white has to respond, probably by placing here. Yeah, because he doesn't want to give that straight row. And white. Now, if white places a wall here, for example, black can throw a flat up there, and then that's attack threat from moving the capstone over, spreading it out and slamming. Don't think that's going to be what he's going to do. Okay, yeah, he's going to throw that over, capture a prisoner here. So he had a stack, a hard cap, and he throws it over to instead continue that horizontal line, get an anchor point there. Not the best play, I don't think. It all stemmed from making that one risky shot, trying to trick him into missing that attack threat. Now I think what he wants to do here is, because black's counting on being able to win this spot and go for that vertical threat. So white needs to do something about that now, because now white is going to be reactionary because black has more momentum at this point and more options in terms of where to go. Okay, so white captures up, gets itself out of that recapture war, and sort of preempts that whole situation from happening. Okay, I can see that. And now when he places another flat, for example, at c5, or at e5, probably c5, then he knows he won't immediately lose that capture war. Places at c5, then we may see black place at d6 or at e5. Probably e5, because that would continue that vertical threat for black. And if he does place at e5, okay, so e5 for black, continuing black's momentum. And then if white does oh, going for the wall at e5. Okay, because he knows he can get that piece back. He can get those two prisoners that are underneath and use those to move his road threat, his vertical threat. Okay, you don't see that too often. You don't often see capturing under your own flat with another flat. Typically, if you're setting up something really fancy, there might be a way to make that be a good move here. But really what he's doing is he's opening up that spot for black to come in. He didn't really have a choice. He was going to lose those flats initially, and if he comes back over and recaptures, that wall's just coming back over. So he's probably going to have to wall here at d6. And if not, even if he does, he will get that captured, and then there's going to be a recapture there. This is interesting. Black is playing a pretty good game right here. The wall coming out was a good play. Wall coming out here is also a good play because he can come over and immediately cut off any threat that black brings about just by coming over here. Okay, I like this. So he's also making some preemptive plays. I like that move from white. That was a good move from white. Black coming up to win the recapture war of this so we can get those two prisoners freed. Get a little bit more mobility. Hmm. Interestingly, yeah, that's the obvious move. But I was thinking maybe even placing a flat at b5 and then drawing that out a little bit more would have been a good move. Now we see this tack threat from black coming down straight from d6 down to d1. Wall comes over just like its purpose was for. Um, that's why he placed it there in the first place. Now, ooh, there are a few things I really like here. Um, There's some options. I'm looking at the option of eventually smashing this with the white capstone, getting a hard capstone, maybe building that horizontal or vertical threat going this way with that other wall being knocked over. There's a lot of potential here for movement, and we see that flat at b6 again. Black going right there next to that stack, saying I'm going to win this recapture war. There's really nowhere for this to go at this point. Yeah, that recapture war is going to be won by black here, and you'll see probably black come over, capture that, and then white would come back up, and then black would come over, and then white plays a wall here at c5 um, to keep it from coming down and covering the rest of his line, and then also continuing on this vertical threat on a separate file. I mean, I can see that happening. Ooh. Okay, so that is attack threat. Throwing this capstone stack down, 1, 2, 3, connecting it all the way down to A1 from C6. That is attack threat. Not one that I was looking for. Not bad, but it doesn't stop this recapture war that's probably going to occur right now on C6. There goes the first move of it. Will we see C5 plus? I think they're both expecting a C5 plus, and then a D6 left, and then an SC5, meaning C5 goes up, D6 comes over, and then a wall comes back on C5. I feel like that's what we're all expecting here. I'm not sure. And then probably the stack spreads out to the left. Again, this is just my guess. Interesting that he's taking so long. He may be thinking about placing a wall there instead of recapturing with D6. Which would effectively cut off that white thread. They do have a healthy amount of flat stones each. We are seeing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 black flats to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 white flats. White with the current advantage in flats because of the control here and the control here. Yep, we saw the d6 capture. Now are we going to see a wall on c5? We are going to see a wall on c5. Now are we going to see a spread from c6 over? That's the question. Probably leaving the most pieces right here on b6 to come down and cover up. But we'll see what he does with this. Ben currently at 5.5 minutes to go. Orfane with 8 minutes on the clock, just about. Ben taking his time a little bit more. Probably just doesn't want to make a mistake like he did last round, where he missed that tag threat at the very end there. It's always important to go through sort of a checklist in your mind. First look, okay, can my opponent win in the next move? No. Okay, can I win this move? No. Okay. What does my opponent need to get to Tenue? Tenue being tax equivalent to checkmate, where there's essentially a forced win. And then you can kind of go through that checklist in your mind and come up with the potential moves that your opponent might make and that you should make, that sort of thing. In the chat, they're saying this game went weird. Oh, we're seeing it go the other direction. That was unexpected. Interesting. Okay, what I want here... Oh, I'm not so sure about that move. I wanted white to come down here to b2. Or maybe even c3. Because black placing at c3, that's good. That's good for black. Because white currently doesn't have much. White can play... Okay, there we go. So white now has to capture, probably with this wall. Because that's a tag threat. Placing an a6 or moving over to a6. Yeah, if the wall comes up to capture and to block that road threat. Now, how will black respond? Will black respond by placing at c3? Because placing at c3, no. Okay, that is another tack threat there. b6 down would be tack. Ben, again, this game now playing off that same theory that placing flats when you have the momentum is way better than capturing. Keeps that momentum, keeps white playing this reactionary game as opposed to being proactive. He's reactive. Black doing a good job here of gaining back some ground, keeping this competitive. Now this could be an interesting match where we see black win on both games. Not too common, not too common to see that, but it is fun when you do see it. Typically you see that in pretty high level games where black wins by flats in both games, but if we're seeing two road wins by black, that would be pretty impressive. There are a number of things white can do here to stop this horizontal threat. He could move this wall over, he could spread out his capstone stack, although I'd be reluctant to do that because that is a very powerful stack. He could move that flat stone up one. Interesting, okay. I can see why he would have done that, because he knows that he doesn't have to worry about these two prisoners being retaken because he has the wall there for protection. He could go back down and recapture it at any point. Now, if black places at a6, he won't have that option anymore, but that's two moves ahead, and there'd be more room for other angles for white to go for at that point. Again, I do like c3 for black here because it makes this vertical threat viable with smashing the capstone. He instead went for c4 to guarantee this sort of capture war right there, and also to build down the vertical threat as well. So I like c4 because he can come up, make that attack threat. Okay, so what white has done by capturing here, he makes it so capturing this piece. Ooh, okay, so there's tack threat now. Now we're seeing tack. White opened it up. Ooh, that's interesting. Ooh, and he comes over. That is... Huh. Okay, so white's just pushing this vertical threat. He thinks, I need to win by a road here. So he's got attack threat right now. Vertical, throwing that capstone down. Maybe he's hoping that black won't see it, and black didn't see it. Ben missed it again. That is a win for white, throwing the capstone down. So we saw Orfane win this match over BenWo 2-0, both by missed attack threats. We saw no Tinues, no flat wins here. Uh, it's tough when you're on the spot. Pressure can get to you, time can get to you. You can think about going for your own threats and forget that your opponent also has some options there to win. So that is it for this match. Please tune in for additional matches coming up. Hopefully I'll be able to record a few more games and do a little bit more, maybe do some streaming with some other folks as well, doing some commentary for these TAC games. But that is all for me today, and have a good one, folks.